Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name is Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the NIV right at the moment, and we are in the book of Exodus. We will be in the NIV through 2025. Next year, we're going to go into the KJV. It does take me about 2 years to go through the Bible because I'm going through it in a nice slow pace that I can handle with the recordings. But I also, the other day, ordered 3 other versions of the Bible, including one that was the new KJV. So we'll be able to have a comparison between the one from, like, it was 1873 to one a little bit later. So there's that. This particular heading here, chapter 16, is Manna and Quail. 16, verse 1. The whole Israelite community set out from Elim and came to the desert of Sin. S-I-N, literally, the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, like as in Mount Sinai. Okay? On the 15th day, the second of the second month of the after they had come out of Egypt, so marking the time from leaving Egypt, in the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to him, "If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt." People are always dramatic, okay? Large groups of people have always been dramatic. I mean, that's just the way it is. In case you're a person who has to lead others. Yes, large groups of people have always been dramatic. Because they would rather, die. Go back into slavery than be hungry. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. But you have brought us out into this desert to starve us, to starve this entire assembly to death. Like, you really were working for the Egyptians, so we just fell for it, right? Then the Lord said to Moses, "I will rain down bread from heaven. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way, I will test them and see whether they follow my instructions. On the 6th day, they are to prepare what they bring in, and that is to be twice as much as they gathered on the other days." So Moses and Aaron said this to all the Israelites, "And in the evening you will know that it is the Lord who brought you out of Egypt, and in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Who are we that that you should grumble against us?" Moses also said, You will know that it was the Lord when he gives you meat to eat in the evening and all the bread you want in the morning, because he heard your grumbling against him. Who are we? You are not grumbling against us, but against the Lord. Moses is like, "I'm not doing this. It's not my magic. Do not think I'm the Savior. The Lord is doing this for you." It's very important. You can never claim the Lord's work. And Moses and Aaron are fine examples of why you never claim the Lord's work. Because they were his prophets, but they still got in trouble. No one is above getting in trouble, save the Messiah, and that's only because he went through life blameless. He didn't sin to need it to be forgiven. So, okay? Let's see. Here we are down there. All right. Then verse 9. Then Moses told Aaron, "Say to the entire Israelite community, 'Come before the Lord, for he has heard your grumbling.'" While Aaron was speaking to the whole Israelite community, they looked toward the desert, and there was the glory of the Lord appearing in the cloud. Okay, so they saw the light shining through the clouds, because it says Jesus is light, right? So the light shining through everywhere that there is the Lord and Jesus. There, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, like the Trinity. Wherever there is any of them, there is the light. Because they are the light. So they provide the light. They're there with the light. The Lord said to Moses, verse 11, the Lord said to Moses, I have heard the grumbling of the Israelites. Tell them, at twilight you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God. That is the time that quail do. I live in the desert in Arizona, or all of Arizona is really basically a desert. So I live in the Sonoran Desert on the Arizona side, in Tucson, Arizona, because I don't really care if you guys, it's readily available. Tucson, Arizona, and we get quail. These types of the plants they're talking about, the animals they're talking about, we get them all, even the lions. It's just that they're mountain lions. So they come down, though. The closer you live to the mountains, the more likely you are to see them. Tucson is in a bowl of mountains. So the higher up in elevation you go, you start changing your type of climate and everything. So you start getting different plants, different animals, different all kinds of things, because there's the mountain ranges, and we've got things up there. Technically, they're not Tucson anymore because they become a different town as you start getting up the mountain. Because I don't want to make people up who live up there on Mount Lemmon get all cranky. We are not Tucson. You're right. You're not Tucson. You are Mount Lemmon. I agree. It's a completely different world. You could not look up the Tucson weather and know anything that's going on up there. It would not work for you. It's a drastically different temperatures, like drops by, 20 degrees. So a lot different, right? So verse 10, when Aaron was speaking to the whole Israelite community, they looked on the desert, and there was the glory of the Lord appearing as a cloud. The Lord said to Moses, I have heard the grumbling of the Israelites. Tell them, at twilight you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. And then you will know I am the glory of the Lord. That evening quail came and covered the camp. And in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. When the dew was gone, thin flakes like frost on the ground appeared on the desert floor. When the Israelites saw it, they said to each other, what is it? For they did not know what it was. Moses said to them, it is the bread the Lord has given you to eat. This is what the Lord has commanded. Each one is to gather as much as he needs. Take an omer, O-M-E-R, that is probably about 2 quarts or 2 liters for each person you have in your tent. So a certain amount of grain per person, because it's just a type of grain that he put. Now, it's dew and it's flakes. So I see this interaction happen on my rose garden, because it gets so hot all day long. It's baking the leaves, and it's causing the essential oils to come up like drops, okay, that will just start glistening on the leaves when it's scorching hot, so when there's no reason for there to be any liquids there. And then in the evening time, when it starts to get colder, because it doesn't hold the heat because it's sand. So when it drops, it just drops quite a bit. Like we can have 70, right now we're in the 70s during the daytime, and in the evenings it's 32, 34, 36 degrees, down like that. So a gigantic drop. And then what happens is those essential oils, where they were liquid oils, now become crystals. And you can literally see the crystal. So this is some kind of element that during the walking and the baking of the heat, then with the dew, they can go collect this and grind it and turn it into something. And so is the true with any of the crystals if I wanted to get them off the roses. But last year I decided not to get them off the rose leaves or anything. And what happened is I had a whole family of hummingbirds come and eat on them. So, it's not like you couldn't. It's just that roses are not something that humans generally want to eat. In this case, it's to keep from starving. The Israelites did as they were told. Some gathered much, some little, and when they measured it by omer, he who gathered much did not have too much, and he who gathered little did not have too little. Each one gathered as much as they needed, so they could trust their own judgment. That's good. Then Moses said to them, no one is to keep any of it until morning. So bake it all now and, get it and make it. However, some of them paid no attention to Moses, and they kept part of it until morning. And then it was full of maggots and began to smell. So Moses was angry with them because there's no refrigerator, right? So it gets gross. Each morning, everyone gathered as much as he needed. And when the sun grew hot, it melted away. And that's what will happen when you reheat something that is crystallized with an essential oil. And the sun gets hot enough again, it'll just recrystallize. And then happen all over again. Unless somebody comes along like a little hummingbird and eats it. On the sixth day, they gathered twice as much, 2 omers, for each person, and the leaders of the community came and reported this to Moses. He said to them, this is what the Lord commands. Tomorrow is to be a day of rest, a holy Sabbath day. So bake what you want to bake and boil what you want to boil. Save whatever is left and keep it until morning. So they saved it until morning, and Moses commanded, and it did not stink or get maggots in it. Eat it today, he said, because today is the Sabbath to the Lord. You will not find any of it on the ground today. 6 days you are to gather it, but on the 7th day, the Sabbath, there will not be any. Nevertheless, some people went out on the 7th day to gather it, but found none. Then the Lord said to Moses, how long will you, God gets mad, see, Hebrew, so plural, like as in you, right? Refuse to keep my commands and instructions. Like, why are you doubting what the Lord is saying when he's been right all this time? Bear in mind that the Lord has given you the Sabbath. That is why on the 6th day he gives you bread for 2 days. Everyone is to stay where he is on the 7th day. No one is to go out. Now, I know in our busy hustle bustle kind of world that seems sort of crazy to us, but they're in a different kind of environment. They're dealing with different things. Besides, maybe God needs a rest day and he doesn't want to hear them. You have to worry about them not listening to him in the first place, and now he has to go get them. Think of it as keeping the sheep in the pen for the day and just feeding them from the trough, rather than letting them out in the field. And I know that seems very like, hey, we're not sheep. He uses the parable shepherd all the time because he's trying to lead us. So yeah, we are. We're the sheep. He's the shepherd. He's the shepherd. In this instance, Moses is the shepherd. But God is the one who's calling all the shots. So he wants us to rest. No one is to go out, so the people rested on the 7th day. I mean, he does it for a reason. For us, that's actually a Saturday, which is when the Jewish people do celebrate their Sabbath. Sunday is the beginning of the week. We, in America here, and in a lot of the, what I'm going to say first world countries, but I don't really like that. Because, watch how fast a first world country starts acting like what they call a third world country when the resources dry up. So I don't really think it's really that. Okay. But when a first world country, like because of how we focus on our money more than anything else, we have made our week and our mind Monday through Sunday, making Sunday the rest day. When in reality, it's not, because our weeks do go Sunday to Saturday. That's how they're on the calendar. Now, the Jewish culture had a different calendar, and their months went by moon cycles. And some sun cycles, like a combo of the two. Because it started with one and moved into the other, okay? The people of Israel called the bread manna. Manna means, what is it? So it was white, like coriander seed, and tastes like wafers made with honey. So some very sweet sort of resin. Then Moses said, this is what the Lord has commanded. take an ounce of manna and keep it for the generations to come, so that they can see the bread I give you to eat in the desert when I brought you out of Egypt. It's like, okay. So Moses said to Aaron, take a jar, put an omer of manna in it, and place it before the Lord to be kept for generations to come. As the Lord commanded Moses, Aaron put the manna in front of the testimony that it might be kept. The Israelites ate manna for 40 years until they came to a land that was settled. They ate manna until they reached the border of Canaan. And then there's a verse 36. An omer is 1/10 of an ephah, EPHAH, which has no, it doesn't even have any footnotes. So it's just a unit of measure. So there you have it, my friends. And this, to me, I mean, this is what it speaks of to me. It speaks of some sort of resin. That they would be, because that's what it sounds like. It melts away during the daytime. It's there only when the temperatures drop. They need to collect it while they can, grind it while they can, so that they can turn it into something else. Either that, or it could be any number of other things. But, including just as something as the proper wind coming down and blowing seeds onto the ground that normally fall there, and they're just gathering up whatever those seeds are and eating them, right? And turning them, because any seed, any grain can be ground and then used to turn into some sort of food. Everybody does it everywhere in the world, right? So until the next video, friends.